The iPhone 17 might just be the smartest iPhone choice this year, and the gap between it and the Pro has almost disappeared. You're getting a brand new display with Pro level features, upgraded ultra-wide and front-facing cameras, and performance that outpaces not only the last year's 16 Pro, but surprisingly, even the new iPhone Air in several key areas. So let's break down what makes this phone so compelling, where it may still fall short, and a few hidden details that most people haven't noticed. So even though the design of the phone has barely changed, it looks really close to the 16, it's just a bit taller, there is a ton of important changes on the inside. Starting with a brand new 120Hz ProMotion display, and it's a variable refresh rate, so it jumps from 1 to 120Hz. So in some situations where you don't need a high refresh rate, for example, just like looking at photos or maybe a YouTube video, Netflix, stuff like that, it would drop down to match the frame rate of the media you're consuming, which makes it way more efficient. Brightness was bumped up as well. It's now peaking at 3000 nits outdoor in direct sunlight and maintaining a consistent 1000 nits indoors for longer periods of time. Glass on the display also got upgraded to Ceramic Shield 2, which is noticeably more scratch resistant, not only compared to the iPhone 16, but actually most phones out there. And to top it all off, the bezels around the screen have gotten smaller. So even though the size increased from 6.1 to 6.3 inches, that is mostly achieved by thinning the bezels, so the size of the phone itself remained pretty similar. It is just a tiny bit taller than the 16, but holding it in hand, it's not a noticeably bigger phone. And to just kind of round out the whole display portion of the video, for the first time ever, the display on the iPhone 17 base model is exactly the same as the one on the iPhone 17 Pro. The performance of the A19 chip is also noticeably improved compared to the A18. Well, I shouldn't say noticeably because most of these phones are really fast. So day to day, when using the phone regularly, just like social media, stuff like that, you might not notice the difference in performance, but it is faster. So let's just say on paper, performance has improved so much that it's actually faster than the last year's 18 Pro chip that was in the Pro phone, so the 16 Pro and Pro Max. And there is actually a few situations where it beats the iPhone Air, even though the iPhone Air has the new A19 Pro chip. Since most components of the iPhone Air are in that upper camera portion of the phone, it heats up faster than other iPhones, at least this year, so it drops the performance down a bit to be able to handle that heat, while the iPhone 17 maintains performance over time much better. And it handles everything that you would even think of doing on it just fine. Even some more demanding AAA games, like Genshin Impact for example, run absolutely smoothly with great and more importantly consistent performance overall. When it comes to connectivity in general, the iPhone 17 has the new N1 networking chip with Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6, but I actually don't have another device that supports Bluetooth 6, so I wasn't able to test that directly. I did test it with other Bluetooth devices and yes, connection is really reliable. One more thing that I have noticed is that AirDrop fails way less often. Well, actually didn't fail once so far. What I did have a problem with previous iPhones is we're trying to transfer big files. It will quite often just kind of fail halfway and just give up on the transfer completely, and I would have to do it all over again. While it did handle smaller files much better, but with the iPhone 17 I did see a huge improvement there. 0 failed transfers so far, so that is a great improvement. And one more thing these new chips allow for, because they are more efficient, is better battery life. The battery capacity itself did get bigger for about 10% or so, but using it day to day, it's a much more noticeable improvement than that. It handles around 5 to 6 hours of screen on time with really heavy usage, just using the apps and stuff that do drain the battery faster, so GPS, gaming a lot, shooting a lot of 4K 60 video, things like that. But more importantly, with moderate usage, which I feel like is the way most people use their phones day to day. This phone can get you around 9 hours of screen on time, and that's what I usually end up with, which especially for a bit more of a compact phone, at least by today's standards, it's pretty good. When I started testing the phone, I was on it really heavy, like every day, all day, just testing a bunch of different stuff. And during that heavy usage period, I would finish the day at around 20% battery life left. But now that things have settled a bit and I'm just using it like I normally would, I'm usually ending the day, well, on average at about 50% battery life left, which is a huge improvement over the 16. So it does vary a lot depending on how you use your phone, but this is a really solid battery, especially for a phone of this size. Charging is also faster. For the iPhone 16, Apple quoted 50% battery life in around 30 minutes of charging wired, while here you get the 50% in around 20 minutes. And yeah, from what I've been seeing, that sounds about right. This one in 30 minutes gets me to around 70 to 75%, and I'm pretty sure it's kept around 36 to 37 watts when charging it with a faster charger. It might peak a bit higher, but that's about what you get when it comes to the charging speed, and wireless is still around 25 watts. Now the camera situation is a bit more nuanced, but first of all I'm going to mention the front-facing camera, which gets a brand new sensor. It's 18 megapixels. And again, the same one as in the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. It supports center stage and it's a square sensor, so it can crop into your photo depending on if you want to shoot portrait or a landscape. So you can basically take a landscape photo without having to rotate your phone. And in general, photos and videos coming out of this front-facing camera are noticeably improved. It also supports dual capture, which allows you to shoot video with the back and front-facing camera at the same time. So it kind of looks like a, I don't know, like a FaceTime call or a streaming setup or something like that. You can decide whether that's useful to you, but it's there and it's kind of fun. Now the cameras on the back, of course, still just two of them, so you don't get the third telephoto lens, but the two that it has are improved quite a lot, especially the ultra wide, which went from 12 to 48 megapixels. So now both cameras on the back are 48. And with the ultra wide, it's a really noticeable improvement. Both photos and videos are much clearer, much more detailed. It handles colors and dynamic range better. Still not on the level of that main wide lens, but it's getting closer to it. Now the main one is also improved, but I haven't noticed a huge difference compared to the iPhone 16. Again, it's maybe a bit better with the dynamic range, and their post-processing changed a little bit, so at least from what I can see, the photos look a bit more natural. It still shoots 4K 60, you still get the action mode, cinematic mode, photographic styles. I'm still keeping it at standard or neutral most of the time because it does seem more natural, but high contrast, for example, also looks pretty nice. And portrait mode has actually seen a noticeable improvement, and Apple did say they changed the way they process portrait photos, and honestly didn't expect that much of an improvement because they say that every year, but this year it's actually true. And even compared to Samsung's portrait mode, which in my opinion was a bit better, had a slight edge over the iPhone so far, right now I feel like that shifted a bit, but you do miss out on this camera compared to the Pros. This one you get a 2x semi-optical zoom with a sensor crop and a 10x digital, while with the Pro you do get that 8x optical zoom, and I think it's capped at 50 or 55x digitally, so that is a difference. And Pro formats, so that's Pro RAW and Pro Res RAW for video, but I feel like that's something that most people don't really care about, or at least shouldn't care about, I guess, unless you're an enthusiast or someone that wants to, start learning about photography and videography a bit more, or maybe you're a social media creator, so you need that freedom with color grading. But otherwise, for most other people, honestly, it's just kind of a waste of time, especially with Pro Res RAW, because those files take up so much storage, and in the end, you would actually have to edit them later on to get the desired result, because they do keep a lot more information from the photo or video, but they flatten the image out a lot, so you would have to boost up the saturation, contrast, and stuff like that in post to be able to take full use of that format. I'm also working on the best camera settings video for the iPhone 17, so subscribe to the channel if you want to see how you can get the best possible result out of this system. Even iOS 26 is kind of grown on me. When it came out, I wasn't a huge fan of the liquid glass aesthetic, but right now, after using it for a few weeks, yeah, I'm kind of getting used to it, and I actually like the look. It's smooth, it's fast, no major bugs. So if that was something you may have been concerned about, it's actually running pretty smoothly on the iPhone 17. So aside from those Pro formats and the third telephoto lens, the difference between the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro and Pro Max, it's almost non-existent. One more thing I can mention that you do get with the Pros is faster USB transfer speeds. So if you want to transfer huge files from your phone to your PC with a data cable, these are still 2.0 speeds, so that's something to consider. But other than that, I don't see another reason that you would go with a Pro phone this year. With a price difference of $300 between the two, the iPhone 17 base is $799, while the Pro is $1099 and up. And for that $799, you get a boost in storage from 128 to 256 gigabytes. I think the base iPhone 17 this year is the phone that most people should get, and one of the biggest generational jumps since, well, I'm going to say iPhone 11 or something like that, maybe even before that. And even compared to other Android phones that came out this year in that price range, right now, surprisingly, nothing beats the base iPhone 17. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that stuff.